Ladies and gentlemen, what a great 48 hours of professional wrestling product we have seen. Oh yes, we are in the meat of the sandwich right now. Money in the Bank is in the books. Sorry, I'm gonna say it, the best B pay-per-view they've had this year. And to all the spammers and scammers that are out there touting me out as the worst guy, the worst thing going here in the YWC, I've been called the YWC's Black Cloud before by certain other ashholes. It really doesn't hurt my feelings, and if I really want to be corny, I could go with something like haters make me famous, but at least I'm not trying to use YouTube to scam people, and you know who you are. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, it's your buddy, it's your pal, SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check, with the July 16th Raw Super Show, with the 999th Raw review, with the last episode of Raw in the 2-hour era review. And this was a hell of a show, like I said, coming off of Money in the Bank, which, other than Cena botching the main event, was a great show. Suck it, it was. We open up the show tonight with Punk, even though I'm straight edge, I still love being in Vegas. Talks about the pipe bomb promo from a year ago. Says, since then I've proven myself and to be the best in the world, and I'm the WWE champion, and I'm going to enter the 1000th episode of Raw as the WWE champion. He's interrupted by Show, and Show is basically bitching about how he came this close to winning Money in the Bank, and he only lost because he was in the ring with John Cena, which is kind of true. He complains about the botchy win. He says, if I had the case and we were standing face to face right now, I'd be the champion. And Punk basically says, well, sorry to tell you, almost doesn't count. You came, you destroyed, and you lost. You have it all, but you lost. That's why everybody here respects me and not you, and I'm not even half your size. Show says, basically what we all would say as wrestling fans. You know, CM Punk, you can think you're as special as you want, but we all know this company revolves around one guy. I kind of like that. There was a little bit of realism there from Show. Show, this year, although I still think he's boring as shit in the ring, his promos have only gone up, and to keep pace with CM Punk in an opener is it has to be said, doesn't it? Punk basically says, I'm the champ, you're not, you're a bitter shell of a giant. And it's announced that, like I said before, Punk versus Show is going to be the main event tonight. Then we have lots and lots of Raw 1000 talk. We talk about various YouTube things. They remind us once again that The Rock is coming. They tell us that if you go to YouTube right now, you can see the first ever episode of Raw. Whether it was called Monday Night Raw or Raw is War or just Raw, I'm not entirely sure, so I might go and check it out after I'm done doing this video. They said it's from some small arena in New York. I can't think of off the top of my head because I'm completely honest like that. We come back and we get what I thought we were going to get at SummerSlam. Shows you I'm not always right, but yet again, unlike most people here in the YWC, I can actually admit that I'm not always right. We have R-Boom versus the Primetime Players for the Tag Team Championships. Story basically goes like this. If Titus is in the ring with Kofi, Kofi's getting destroyed. If the champs get a chance to double team, they do it on Young because he's portrayed as the weaker guy. High crossbody from Kofi, flip dive on both of the Primetime Players to the outside by Kofi. The Primetime Players double team Kofi Kingston for a long time, but of course they are the faces. They come back. Trouble in Paradise, Little Jimmy's Revenge, and R-Boom retain their tag team championships. Oh yeah. AW goes crazy afterwards on his microphone, you know, we're gonna get it, referee, you screwed us, da-da-da-da-da. I love AW. AW is obnoxious as fuck, and that's exactly why I like him. Moving on. AJ and Brian in the back. Brian apologizes to AJ for everything that's happened since WrestleMania. This and that and the next thing, and he's supposed to tell something else, and then Eve comes and interrupts. Eve basically bitches out Daniel Bryan for leaving her high and dry last week, and lets him know that she's going to pick a mystery partner to take on AJ and Bryan later on that night. So we're getting more mixed tag action, which means we're getting more diva action, which is good for everybody. They go on more about WWE and this new tout website, whatever service, whatever it is. To me, basically, it looks, from what I've seen, it looks basically like a 15-second video version of Twitter. I'm gonna choose not to care. I'll stay right here where my videos can be as long as I want. Little side note, certain other spammers and scammers out there that don't like this channel to begin with, trying to tell me that the reason I have a lowly 240 subscribers is because my videos are too long. Newsflash for all of you out there. I'm going to do the videos I want to do. I'm not going to be like some of you scammers out there and pander and bullshit and da-da-da-da-da. That's why I am the CM Punk of the YWC and you are the John fucking Cena. Moving on. Hey, we get Ryder versus Del Rio for no particular reason. Alberto Del Rio destroys Ryder. He gets a few vague, fledgling little bits of offense in. Alberto Del Rio works the arm inside the ring. He works the arm outside of the ring. He works it over the steps. Ryder eats post, and the cross arm breaker gets the win for Alberto Del Rio. But then we hear the booyaka, 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 and we finally get the return of Rey Mysterio. Now, this is a shout out for my buddy Preston. I promised you that when your boy Rey Mysterio came back, you would get a pause for markout. And I know you've already done your markout video. I've seen it. Apparently, it's already been picked up by No DQ, so congrats for that. But here it is, as promised, your 5 seconds to mark out. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that because I'm moving on now. Ray comes in, basically beats the hell out of Alberto Del Rio, 619, and he leaves. Obviously, this is not a rivalry that's over yet, which we all knew months and months and months ago. They do another flashback, you know, classic Raw moments, but it's not really a classic Raw moment, it's just a flashback to the past couple of weeks, and Heath Slater and all the legends that have basically kicked his ass. DDP, Psycho Sid, Cyndi Lauper, Wendy Richter, Vader. The fact that he beat Doink doesn't really matter in the long run, does it? And then, then Heath Slater comes to the ring, and his next opponent is Rikishi, and I'm Mark, because I'm a fan of Rikishi. Nothing much to it. Big Rikishi chance. Basically, Heath Slater tries to get a few high-impact shots in him that have no effect. We have the stink face, we have the super kick, we have the second rope squash, and Rikishi wins. And then the lights go out. And for a split second, I thought we were going to get some weird promo between Jericho and Rikishi, which would have been awkward. But instead, we have Rikishi and his sons, the Usos, all in matching, you know, Michael Jackson-style fedoras, and they're all dancing, and they're all doing the Rikishi breakdancing thing. His sons really didn't look like they were into the groove of it, but it didn't matter. It was just, and I said it on Twitter, it's just, you know, don't analyze it too much. Hashtag feel good moment. Moving on. Bryan and AJ versus Eve and her mystery partner. Oh yes, my boy The Miz. I marked out for this, and then I realized something. This match dynamic is very, very interesting. Eve and The Miz versus Bryan and AJ. So you've got heel and heel versus heel and Psycho. That's a pretty unique match dynamic. But anyways, Bryan traps The Miz in the corner early on with a bunch of kicks. Miz gets his patented high knee on Bryan. AJ tags in, and Eve dominates her for a little bit. Eve even gets the hangman choke in the corner on AJ, which is very, very nice. AJ gets a kick into Eve Torres's head, gets her a near fall. AJ taunts The Miz into the ring. There's a bunch of distraction. Eve gets the roll up on AJ. In the distraction, Bryan rolls them over. AJ gets the pin. AJ and Bryan gets the win. Now, Eve and The Miz obviously clear out. Bryan tells AJ that he loves her for the first time, and it's like, aw, this is crap. Like, not this is a crappy segment, but this is crap coming out of Daniel Bryan's mouth. He then proposes to AJ. This time, following CM Punk's advice, he's even got a ring. Puts the ring on AJ before AJ gets a chance to answer, but AJ does, in fact, accept, and they proceed to eat each other's face. in the ring for like a solid minute while the crowd is resounding and reverberating with no chance throughout the arena, and they yes their way to the back, so good for them, I suppose. Next up we had Swagger versus Ryback, which is a pairing I really wouldn't have put together. Swagger tries to maul Ryback before the match starts with his, you know, Swagger bomb, gut wrench, power bomb type things. Failed at the ankle lock, spinebuster by Ryback, double powerbomb by Ryback, and Ryback basically leaves because the match never actually happens, but Ryback obviously walks out dominant, so call it a moral victory, I suppose. And I don't really care about Swagger because I'm not a fan of his, but my god, what are they doing with him? Jesus. Moving on. Ziggler comes out, talks about Money in the Bank, talks about all the people that have cashed in the Money in the Bank have a 100% success rate. He's going to be the next champion. He's going to be better than Brett. He's going to be better than Austin. He's going to be better than The Rock. He's interrupted by Jericho, but Jericho doesn't really get to say anything because Ziggler says, no, you don't get to do this, you don't get to steal my moment, this is my moment, for once it's not all about you, Jericho, you haven't won a single match since you've been back, you're the best in the world at what you do, but what you do is lose, you've lost your touch, you've lost your touch, you've lost your touch, Codebreaker. Jericho leaves. Oh yes, I'm a fan of Ziggler, but this was still awesome. This is going into a feud. I love it, and that will put me in direct competition with you, Kara. Yes, my resident Jerichoholic buddy. Yes, we will be head-to-head if these guys go head-to-head, and it will be great, and I hope it happens at SummerSlam. I can fucking speak, I swear, at SummerSlam. Brodus Clay versus JTG. Great to see JTG on TV, but for a squash match, meh. Punk versus Show. Punk hits and runs early. Show gets the headbutt and the shoulder tackle and does what he usually does these days, which is telling the crowd to smile for him, which is basically getting back to the whole, you know, when he was a face, he had to smile for everybody just to make a paycheck, da-da-da. Show eats the post on the outside. Punk kicks away. Another Show headbutt gets the momentum back in Show's favor. Show works over his midsection for a while. Sleeper by Punk is countered into a sidewalk slam. Show misses with a splash and hits but he comes back and gets a back body drop on Punk. Many kicks and shots and knee shots to the head by Punk on the Big Show. Savage elbow by Punk, but Show comes back for a chokeslam and a near fall. Show works their midsection some more. The ref gets bumped. Punk wins by disqualification. Show destroys Punk some more. Oh yes. Cena comes down with the case, and I'm thinking, is he really going to cash in on CM Punk? I'd kind of like that, because it would rev CM Punk back up again, and it would get him pissed off. But no, Cena does the good guy thing, chases off Show. Show tries to taunt Cena into cashing in Money in the Bank. Cena announces that instead, he's going to wait till both of them are fresh, like a good guy, and they're going to fight for the WWE Championship on the 1000th episode of Raw, which is fine and wonderful, and Cena then blasts Big Show in the face with the case. And apparently he got a new case, because this one has a handle on it, not like the handle that he broke off in the botch last night. Oh yes. Now, before I get to score, fail, and MVP, let's talk about next week. Everybody's nervous about next week. Everybody's got their own opinions of what to say, what they should do, what they shouldn't do with the 3-hour Raw. Just so far, we have AJ Lee and Daniel Bryan's wedding, which will be a debacle, you know that. DX's reunion, enough said. Lesnar's answer for Triple H, in other words, he's going to come out, they're going to banter for a while, and then they're going to announce the SummerSlam main event, because the posters are already made. The Rock is going to return and explain how he's getting back in the WWE Championship picture. Let's please say CM Punk versus The Rock at SummerSlam. And then we will have Cena versus Punk for the WWE Championship, which I really hope Cena loses. Moving on, score, fail, and MVP. There is not a lot of fail here. I will warn you of that, because I'm having a lot of fun with the WWE right now, at a time where I know most of you aren't. I know Alex did a great video on some of his qualms with CM Punk. I agree with some of it, I don't agree with some of it. I encourage you guys to all go check it out. Preston's response to Alex's video is also quite good, and I lean a little bit more towards the opinion of Preston, and whereas I'm very happy with CM Punk being where he is right now, because to say that to say that Punk should be in the main event spot typically would be true, but because Cena has spent so much time in the main event spot, that main event spot has literally lost its luster. So where CM Punk is right now is okay. Bottom line, go check out Alex's video, then go check out Preston's response. They're both great. Preston happened to give me a shout out and give my Money in the Bank review a shout out, which is awesome, so thank you for that. Anyways, moving on, Punk and Show in the opener. Punk's great on the mic, we know that. The fact that Big Show was able to come out there and keep up with him shows how far Big Show has come. Moving on, Ray's comeback. Ray's beatdown on Alberto Del Rio and the possibility of Ray versus Alberto Del Rio down the line. All good. Rikishi's comeback and the little dance shtick with his sons in the ring, awesome. He gets to go in there in the business that they're all in together and they all get to do something together. Like I say, hashtag feel good moment. Bryan and The Miz were in a match tonight. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz in a match tonight, although they both had female partners and they didn't get a whole lot of time in the ring together because the story really was AJ and Eve. I would love down the line for this to translate into a big feud. Ziggler Jericho. Jericho won the debate without saying a word and walked out as the only guy still standing. This is another story I want to see develop into a major, major feud. Like I say, Kara, watch out because me and Ziggler are coming for you. JTG, even though he was in a squash, JTG was on TV this week. I'm a big fan of JTG, like it or lump it. When JTG gets TV time, I'm a happy kid. Not really sure why, because it is quite corny. But I do love the whole Heath Slater versus all the legends thing. He comes out, he shoots his mouth off, somebody comes out, we get to mark, whoever that person is destroys Heath Slater unless their name is Doink. Everybody goes home happy. And even though he's getting destroyed, he's getting in-ring time on the flagship show with legends in the business. This will do something good for him along the way. Has to be said, this week on NXT, I think the main event is Heath Slater versus Justin Gabriel. I suggest everybody that's not already watching NXT, go check out NXT this week, because that should be good. Gabriel is on the rise, take my word for it. The only two fails I have, I'm sorry, I know Cena is never going to turn heel. I know, and I wouldn't care if he did, really. But Cena being the good guy, the savior, the hero, and basically ruining the spontaneity of the Money in the Bank cash-in doesn't sit well with me. He used it as just another tool to say, look at what a good guy I am, and save CM Punk from Big Show so that he gets to be the hero once again. CM Punk is your champion, but he had to be saved by Cena. That is bullshit. Moving on, considering this time last year CM Punk was destroying John Cena. Oh, yes. Just because I'm a fan of them and I think they're fun, I would have liked to see the primetime players go home with the tag team belts tonight. Just saying. My fave 5, Punk wins, even though it's by disqualification. He's going to have the main event slot next week at the first ever 3-hour Raw because he's going against Cena. Now, is it the main event because it's him? No, it's the main event because it's Cena, but he still gets to be on the opposite side of the ring, so good for him. Orton is still suspended, which is bullshit. Miz lost the mixed tag, but it's great to see Miz on TV tonight on pay-per-view. Last night, returning in this first 48 hours, already back to prominence, already in a main event match at a pay-per-view, already feuding with the former #1 contender for the WWE Championship on Raw. Not a bad comeback for The Miz. Ziggler got outshined by Y2J tonight, but if this, like I say, if this turns into a rivalry, it won't hurt my feelings one bit. And Rhodes apparently never shows up on Raw. MVP, for the reasons I just mentioned, is The Miz tonight, guys. He's got the most successful return ever. And I say that because The Miz didn't actually have a match tonight. He had a quick beatdown segment and then he left. If he had had a match, if he had come back to be a surprise opponent of Alberto Del Rio, completely different story. I don't want Preston coming to cut my head off. If he had come back and legitimately won a match or come back and accomplished something other than a quick beatdown, it would be Ray. Ray's a very, very close second, and he's not even in my fave 5 to The Miz. But The Miz has made more of a statement in the past 48 hours than Ray has. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I see it. Anyways, guys, like I say, we're in the meat of the sandwich. Next week is the 3-hour Raw. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm going into this open-minded, open-hearted, and with the most optimistic attitude I can muster. Tell me what you guys think. Put down in the box below what your predictions are, what you think we might see other than what has already been announced for the 3-hour Raw. Everybody's got their predictions. I'd love you guys to throw some down there. Until then, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep this conversation going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you guys later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.